Next slide.
Right now, commerce is a battlefield. You've been at the top of your game, but now they say you're not relevant. Competition's eating your lunch. Those other guys are changing prices. How are you gonna respond? Customers are searching. Do you even know what they want? And they need that order tomorrow. Can you deliver? But that's right. We see the fire in you. You know what you need to take back market share, and we got the answers. So come on, take back control, because right now, you can. Right now, our modern architecture means less time managing your platform and more time innovating. Right now, we have the power to let you win customers one by one. And I hear them coming on repeat. Right now, our AI is gonna drop some knowledge on you that's gonna give you the competitive edge. You're gonna be 2 steps ahead. Fair? I don't care. There we go, there we go. Come on. Oh, you feeling it now. Security, tighter. Response times, faster. Fulfillment, make more promises and keep them. Oh, you're making some big fans with that delivery. You've got all the tools. Time to start winning. So what do we say to our competition now?
Game on.
Good morning. Come on, good morning. All right, let's just start. I want you all to get up and give yourselves a round of applause for being out here and sharpening the sword. So, hands together. You deserve it. That video, just, what do you think? That represents IBM? That's what you come to expect from IBM? Punchy, conservative. So here's the motivation for that video. Background on me, I'm currently the Chief Marketing Officer for Watson Commerce, but I spent the past couple of years, probably the past 15 years, as a lead strategy consultant and leading the sales organization. So my life consisted of nothing but spending time with retailers and brands across the globe. And the motivation for that video came in a conversation I had about 150 miles from here with the chief digital officer of a large office supply company. And this was a company that got 3,000 stores. They were in process of shutting down 25% of their North American stores because this little company in Seattle that was giving them a bit of a fit. Some of you might be aware of this company. Maybe they're giving you a fit too. And as we're talking about certain strategies they can apply to extract more revenue from online properties as store revenues was shutting down, you get to know the guy. And about 11 o'clock at night, the conversation turns really honest. It's like, so, dude, what are you going to do? Like really? Like, what are you going to do? And his words started becoming the motivation for this video. It's like, dude, it's not like we can go in the fetal position and die. We have investors. We have stores. We have store associates that know our customers better than Amazon ever wants to or ever will. And fundamentally, the conversation turned to, it's an existential crisis. It's a life and death battle, but knowledge of the customer, an intimate knowledge of the customer, and innovating with the customer as the North Star really became the battle cry for this particular company. And I just happen to have seen that in a lot of places. So when they asked me to take over marketing, I just thought that was something that really captured the emotion that I felt from people, not in formal meetings, but 11, 12 o'clock at night. Though 2 o'clock at night, the same guy looks at me and says, dude, my bleeping wife buys her pens from Amazon. What the f am I supposed to do? So word for word, excuse the French, but that's kind of what we're up against. So what we're going to talk about today are 5 specific strategies you can action immediately in the battle for market share. And fundamentally, we're going to be talking about making the customer as the North Star in the center of everything you do, and how to innovate, and how to execute strategies to take market share by serving customers. And also, this piece here, I just have to bring it up, not just because I love to show a picture of my kid, but as I was building this presentation, we were watching Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, and there's this character in the movie called the Red Queen, who at some point in the movie, as Alice is trying to figure out what she's doing down the hole, the Red Queen says to her, and she's taunting her, around here, honey, you run faster and faster just to stay in place. And as I'm building this presentation, it really resonated with me because that's kind of what we're all doing in here, right? We're buying more and more technology. It's like a technology arms race out there. And the more you buy, the perhaps even the worse you're doing, or maybe the better you're doing if you're innovating smart. And the message I'd want you to take away from that is it's not about investing more. I mean, listen, I work for IBM. I mean, I want you to invest more, but it's not about investing more, it's about investing smarter. And some of the strategies we're going to talk about today are about smarter ways to get yield out of what you already have, or rather than investing big, investing small and getting high yield and growing snowballs. And then just disruption as a theme as we keep going. What I love about this slide is I keep finding more and more examples every time I talk to people about the different weird angles disruption's coming from. International entrants. I'm working right now with the government of Egypt. The government of Egypt has decided that there's a huge market globally for Egyptian wares. And they got thousands of little shopkeepers in different cities across Egypt that have no doorway to sell, let alone fulfill their wares across the globe. But through economies of scale, they're putting together a brilliant e-commerce marketplace, and not just a marketplace, but with fulfillment and logistics expertise across the globe because they believe they can give a competitive edge to their economy through e-commerce. And then converging technologies. I mean, I would posit to you, there's years ago, people would be worried that some kid in a garage is going to disrupt and put you out of business. I would tell you now, there might be a computer in a closet that's trying to figure out a way to beat you. It's tough out there. And that's why I said give you all a round of applause because technology disruption's been here since the wheel gave us a competitive advantage over the monkeys. And it's only been getting faster and faster and faster. And we're at a point where it's finally got to the point where it's going faster than we as humans can keep up with it. And so the strategies we're going to talk about are how to overcome the pace of disruption. So the fundamental question you have to ask yourself, and I'm going to imagine you've all answered offense if you're sitting in this room, is are you going to sit in the fetal position and die a slow death, which I don't think anybody really here has the desire to do, or are you going to play offense? And I'm going to imagine, actually, anybody want to play defense and sit in the fetal position and die? No? All right. So I'm going to imagine everybody in this room is thinking about how do you go on the offensive? What are the strategies you can employ to better understand customers, to better engage your customers, to remove friction in converting them through digital or even physical funnels? And then how to create such great fulfillment experiences that they keep coming back and back, creating that virtual cycle. And we're going to teach you a little bit about how some of my customers are doing that today. So this is going to be a journey through, frankly, some of the experiences I've had with customers that are going on the offense, and they're employing some pretty impressive strategies. The first customer I'm going to talk about is Follett. Anybody ever hear of Follett? I promise you've all interacted with Follett many times. So Follett, they are the bookstore for 1,800 colleges across the country. So when I go into the UGA bookstore, or if I'm there buying spirit gear for my UGA Bulldogs, because I'm a Georgia transplant, I got to care about those dogs, I'm interacting with Follett. When I go to the University of Michigan bookstore, when I go to the Stanford bookstore, whether I'm buying books online, whether I'm going to the campus bookstore, or whether I'm sitting in the parking lot on a mobile device ordering my game gear, I'm interacting with Follett. Now, most people would look at Follett in the bookstore business and say, ooh, that's a tough business. Truth of the matter is, books are a loss leader in the textbook industry. Right? That's a game that's long due. What Follett knows, and the college bookstore industry knows, that the game there, it's about the alumnus. It's about spirit gear. All the margin is made on Saturday football or Friday volleyball and the alumnus and the spirit gear. Here's what's happening in their particular industry. There's a company called Fanatics. Any of you all hear of them? Yeah, pretty cool company. One of our customers, they're a great company. They recently got the NCAA license. And if you're the chief executive officer of Follett and all of a sudden a digital native gets a license to sell NCAA products, eliminating your monopoly, how are you feeling about the world? Scared. Especially if you're Follett, a 140-year-old company that is on the forefront of technology, but only because they have to, not because that they're natives. And so what Ro McFarland decided to do is he went to the board and he's driving a transformational program. Here's some of the thoughts they have, though. And what I want you to take away from the story, because I'm going to talk about it a little bit, the only thing worth taking away is that every innovation this company has been made through user personas. They understood the key segment personas they owned, and they built engagement vehicles, conversion vehicles, and fulfillment vehicles around knowing that customer better and helping them through the process. And so what they've done is, if you look at some of the key innovations they're driving, which may seem simple, they're not, because, again, one infrastructure managing 1,800 college campuses, they need to be able to fulfill, but everybody needs to fulfill. I mean, we had a great conversation in room 3 that Max led yesterday around buy online, pick up in store. Everybody's doing that. But what about buy in the parking lot, fulfill in the parking lot? Because they make a ton of money from a bunch of drunken idiots who want to have those stupid foam fingers up like that or need that number 56 jersey. And if they're not able to have the mobile device and then understand fulfillment for specific tailgating parking lots. That's a significant amount of money left on the table. And so the innovation they drove with us was all about understanding who their customer is, the segments of customers, the segments of journeys that are going to drive the most profit and create the most happiness for customers, and they deliver it. And one of the things that Fala taught us was, and it's frankly our fundamental belief today, is that we believe every brand has the power to create moments of happiness again and again and again. And fundamentally, that's really what it boils down to. It's understanding your customer, understanding how you're going to engage them, how you're going to convert them into a customer, how you're going to deliver happiness, and how you're going to deliver on your promise so darn well that customers are going to keep coming back to the top of the funnel. And fundamentally, that's the virtual cycle that you all want to focus on, which is engaging customers at the top. But I'm also going to posit, I know there's a lot of people in marketing here, I would posit that the most valuable spend of your marketing dollars might not be at engaging customers or engaging new customers. It might not even be converting customers through the funnel. It's on creating such differentiated brand promises and profitably keeping them, because that's where you're going to drive your customer acquisition costs down, you're going to drive the advocacy up, and you're going to increase customer lifetime value and create this virtual cycle that's going to drive your brand and drive market share and drive competitive edge. So let's just focus on the meat of this topic right now, and we're just going to go through 5 strategic considerations. Basically, these are things that I've learned from my customers that I just want to impart upon you. Each of these are actionable, and each of these things we're more than happy to chat with you about. So here's the first one, and obviously if you've watched TV, you can't get away from IBM talking about artificial intelligence. And the question you want to ask yourself, and the paradigm shift you want in artificial intelligence, is you should probably think about AI or Watson more in your HR department than you're thinking about it in your IT department. You need to think about artificial intelligence as something that's complementing your HR and complementing your talent versus a technology implementation or a technology project you need to deploy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some background on that. So first of all, and every time I see this slide I cringe because there's kind of a gimmick going on here, and I would say this is the greatest gimmick in the history of marketing right here. But here's the thing. Watson is a lot more than some toy robot that can beat Ken Jennings on Jeopardy. I mean, all that picture represents up there is us feeding Watson every Wikipedia article ever read, basically giving him all the most trivial information out there and giving him the ability to set things in context so he can answer questions, and answer questions that no human should be able to answer. So here's what Watson really is, and I'm going to give a couple examples, and we're going to get back into marketing, commerce, and fulfillment and what it really means. So Watson, or artificial intelligence, the most simple way to think about it, it's something that, number one, collects dots. Number two, makes connections between those dots. Number three, continually hones the connections and the inferences made around connecting those dots. And then finally communicates those inferences back to us in a way that we can't even understand whether it's a machine or a computer. And what makes AI interesting is it's about training it. Here's the difference between AI and any other technology you've ever seen. When you go live with a point-to-sale system, you have a couple-month project, you hit go live, you do a deployment, and it's just going. The machine's going. It's mindless. When you go live with Watson, or when you implement a Watson, what you've really done is you've given birth to a 2-year-old. Or depending upon the level of artificial intelligence, maybe it's a 13-year-old who's graduated middle school. Or maybe in some cases it's a high school kid you've graduated. Or maybe in some cases it's someone who has a law degree. Because here's what we've done with Watson since we fed it Wikipedia. We partnered with Memorial Sloan Kettering Health. And what we did there, they're a large cancer hospital in New York City. And what we did there is, instead of feeding it Wikipedia, we fed it medical journals. We fed it every textbook in medicine out there. We sat it with trained doctors and trained medical school professors, and we gave it the context to learn. And then we sat with doctors, and we fed it every oncology case study that Memorial Sloan Kettering had ever had. And the doctors trained the neural network to understand that if you see symptoms X, Y, and Z, then this is the diagnosis. And so Watson today can look at a patient. One was my mom a couple months ago, as IBM, a part of the test program, and it can say to an 85% confidence interval, here's what these symptoms probably translate to. And the value in that is not the inference. Any great doctor can form a gut feel, but because Watson has read every medical journal and continues to read every medical journal, the doctors don't need those intermediaries to go between and go figure out, okay, I'm seeing these 4 symptoms, but how am I going to collect every dot out there and make those connections to understand that when I see these 4 oddball things together, this is the thing I need to look for. And the value for the doctors there is it gives them the reference of what they need to go read. It finds the needle in the haystack, the diamond in the rough. Well, that's medicine. I don't think anybody here, I mean, we all care deeply about it because it's probably going to touch our lives at some point, but we're here to focus on market share. So here's the next thing we did with Watson. You've seen the commercials on Law or H&R Block. We also gave it a PhD in marketing and supply chain and commerce. So today you can ask Watson, hey Watson, how's my 2019 Black Boots campaign doing against my 2018 campaign? Watson understands what a high propensity segment is. Watson knows how to look at your data and make those inferences. And so here's what Watson means in a real life example. Carhartt, and I normally tell this story overseas. I've been on an overseas tour, so I'm going to ask some questions that might seem a little off, but who here does know the Carhartt brand? They're awesome. I'm from New York City. I hadn't heard of them until I moved to Georgia by some odd chance. But so Carhartt, they're a 140-year-old brand. They're all, if I told Anna Cole, who runs merchandising there, that they are a fashion retailer, she'd look at me like I was crazy, and Misty probably would look at me like I was crazy too if I said they're a fashion retailer. They're an apparel manufacturer. They make clothing for the outdoor work person. Now, what does that mean? That means for contractors, electricians. But over 140 years, when they stick true to the brand and these things happen, it's not just for the outdoor work person anymore, even though that's the brand. I was in Romania a couple weeks ago and I asked that same question. And they said, it's a hipster brand. All right. And then, years ago, if you turned on YoMTV Raps, I don't even know if that's still there, but these days, you can't see a hip-hop video without a rapper wearing Carhartt gear. Now, I'm sure the people, and I know these people, in the Midwest who have these conservative values, they love who's picking up on the brand, right? They're never going to cater to the hipsters, the hip-hop artists. But you still have to monetize the trends. And so staying true to the brand but monetizing trends is a topic we all need to be aware of. And here's what's happening at Carhartt. I'll give you an example. I'm going to give you a before and after. Who here saw the movie Interstellar? Personally, I loved it. If you haven't seen it and you like science fiction and love stories combined, brilliant movie. But in that movie, Matthew McConaughey, there was a couple Dust Bowl scenes and there was a lot of outdoor scenes. Matthew McConaughey wears Carhartt gear. Now, not because there was a big commercial arrangement or a contract, it was simply because the scenes called for Carhartt gear. And because that brand identity is so pure and true, he just wore Carhartt gear. Carhartt didn't even know about it. So here's a question. That weekend, it was a top 5 grossing movie of, I think, all time at the time. What happened to Carhartt.com that weekend? Crashed. Where did that come from? Who said crashed? All right, one vote for it crashed. The gentleman from Home Depot thinks the site would crash. Wow, okay. That's the obvious guess. Any other guesses? Actually, you guys got one of the best out there. Any other guesses to what happened that weekend? Or what's even worse than crashing? Nothing. Anna's team was at home playing with their kids, having fun. They didn't know what was going on until Wednesday. Anna Cole would tell you they lost a couple $100,000 that weekend. Here's what was really going on. Nothing was happening. I mean, it didn't crash. I mean, it takes a lot for a site to crash, especially one that's run by IBM, but that's a whole other story. But here's what was really happening. If you actually saw what was happening in the search bar, there was this foreign entity called Matthew McConaughey that kept showing up, but there was no correlation, right? There were these items buried 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 6 clicks back that were spiking 30x above plan, right? These things were happening, but the merchandisers were home completely unaware. Enter Watson. I mean, Carhartt's been a customer of ours for a while, and them, Abercrombie, and a couple of others have been sponsor users as we've had to train Watson. We haven't trained Watson on our own. We partner with experts to train Watson. And so the merchandising degree that Watson got came from a series of Carhartt and a couple of others. And so here's what Watson's doing on their site today. And it's doing on a couple of others. And it's something, these are things, by the way, this is not the traditional IBM. It's going to cost you $10 billion type stuff. This is stuff you can get in for 5 figures. Here's what it's doing on the site today. First of all, when something is spiking above plan, Watson recognizes it. Watson has something called Anomaly Detection. Watson can see a spike against plan, but that's nice. But then Watson can make the call out to the merchandiser on the cell phone and say, hey, here's exactly what's happening. These items are this against plan. We recommend you move from this sequence to this sequence on the page where we think your conversion rates are going to go up by a factor of 3x. Would you like to make the move? Or if you're not on the phone, you're on the dashboard, you can literally click and drag the different items of clothing and move it there. Or Watson can say, you're showcasing, the red jacket, but the tan's doing better in these segments. We recommend you flip. It's also looking at the search bar, can make the recommendation that says, this thing called Matthew McConaughey spiking, trends in the market show Matthew McConaughey was recently in a record-grossing movie. Do your research here to the searchandizer. It also understands inventory positions. It can see that there might be an article of clothing that's out of stock that's featured on the front page. Or maybe it's as simple as the blue is out of stock, but the red's not in stock. And it'll make the recommendation that says, get this out of here, because Watson's trained to be outcome-oriented, right? Watson understands that customer satisfaction and revenue matter, and when he sees a condition or she sees a condition for revenue loss, opportunity cost, negative customer satisfaction, or any other factors, it can make the recommendations and make them actionable. So this is just one of the ways that Watson is changing life for merchandisers and marketers. And one of the things that IBM believes about Watson and AI is it can't be a science project. Here's what I mean. It kind of goes back to the statement I made earlier, which is, are you buying a 7th grader? Are you buying a kindergartner? Or are you buying an advanced degree, right? You pay more for what you get. What we've done is we've taken a lot of the risk out of training, right? We're never going to be able to train Watson on Home Depot. And one of the things that IBM does is if, let's say, I'll give an example. I see Igor in the back. I mean, both Lowe's and Home Depot are customers. One of the things we've done that's very different from Google or Facebook or any of the other plays is we build a very dramatic wall from our customers. So when we train Watson on a data set from a particular company, no one else can gain the benefits of those trainings. And with intellectual property and data being a big deal with AI, we believe that's going to become one of the most fundamental differentiators we have. But what we've done is we train Watson, right? We train Watson on things like tone analysis and sentiment analysis. That's kind of 7th grade level stuff, which is the ability to listen to someone and infer what they're saying and gain context from a natural language conversation. Then we might train Watson on marketing, or we might train Watson on apparel, fashion apparel merchandising, or supply chain. And then the real advanced degree comes after we sit with you and we train Watson on your business. But a couple examples, actually we'll just go through them the rest of the presentation, but what we've done is we've built purpose-built applications that takes a lot of the hard training out of your hands and only forces you to train Watson on your company's specific pieces. Which means, back to the point I made earlier, you get talent sitting right next to you that's complementing your team and is making suggestions as to what to do. Now, a conversation I'll leave you with, perhaps for the bar later, is, so let's go back to the Carhartt example. Watson tells the merchandiser, I recommend you take this piece of clothing and you move it from this thing buried 6 clicks back, move it to the front page. Or you take this out-of-stock item and move it off the site. It makes the recommendation. We could just as easily make the change ourselves. Should we? Let's leave that one for the bar. But just because we can have the machine do things that a merchandiser in theory can do, should we? All right, so that was number one. All right, second one. And this, I would say, is the one that is more underrated than most. And that's, are you making differentiating brand promises and profitably keeping them? And this was part of the discussion we were having in room number 3 yesterday. Here's the question I'm going to ask this room. How many people in this room shop at Amazon? How many people in this room shop at Amazon more than once a month? More than once a week? Okay. Now this is an A/B test right now, A or B. Do you continue shopping at Amazon? And I'm not saying loyal, I'm just saying do you continue to shop at Amazon because A, they personalize offers for you. They feed you the right content. They know exactly what to cross-sell and upsell to you. That's A. Or B, because you know you're going to get your in 2 days. And if you want it tonight, you can pay extra and you're going to get it tonight. And returns are just not a hassle. You know the company's going to take care of you. How many choose A? Ooh. In Europe, it's about 10% give me A. And then there's always the people that just want to screw with me that will raise your hand. How many people say B? Okay. The source of Amazon's competitive advantage and table stakes in the game is fulfillment. But not fulfillment for the sake of fulfillment driven by revenue-focused people. People who understand that the brand is a promise. And the promises you make are the advocacy you get. And your ability to lower your customer acquisition cost, and that's my metric. I own a marketing group right now. I own customer acquisition cost. I'm starting to throw more and more money into my customer service group, and I'm starting to take budget away from paid media, and give it to other parts of my business. Right? If you want to move people to the top of the funnel, you do it in the promises you make and in profitably keeping them. That's how you create a virtual circle. And that's something I'll tell you, that used to be things that would take a long time. I will tell you right now, we're getting companies like Fossil up with global inventory visibility and available to promise and buy online, pick up in store in less than 3 months. So these are things that, based upon innovation, are taking a lot less than you've probably come to expect from the industry. These are things that, and it's not just companies like Nike or Home Depot doing this right now. It's Caterpillar with their yellow truck business, as they've had to mitigate the fact that Toys R Us has gone away. So this is something that it's not just about retailers. It's brands looking to go direct to consumer who are thinking about making fulfillment one of their differentiators. Here's my favorite story about differentiation, and in room 3 we heard a little bit about this yesterday. So for me personally, I fluctuate. I usually get about 20 pounds, a little too heavy, probably once every 2 or 3 years. And when that happens, I go on something called 15. So when that happens, I go on something called the fruit salad diet, which basically means I get rid of all the potato chips and all the easy snacking stuff around the house, and I constantly nosh on fruit salad. And Publix has the best gosh darn fruit salad out there. I'm in Atlanta, where it's Publix and Kroger in a battle to the death. And so literally every morning I'll go to the gym, I'll buy 3 things of fruit salad, that'll be all I eat except for some fish later at night, and that's just it. And I probably spend about $150 a week on fruit salad. Now, a couple years ago, Kroger came out with something called ClickList. ClickList is this: Alexa, add a half gallon of milk to the cart. Alexa, take this off the cart. Alexa, I need to pick up my groceries. What time's available between 12 and 1? Somebody will be out to your car in spot 7 in the parking lot at 1:15 p.m. Awesome. My wife got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, both in car seats. Question: guess who doesn't get their fruit salad from Publix anymore? Right? Publix has better assortment. Publix actually has better prices. But they make a better promise. And they have a customer. Because they know who their customer is, they know what their customer wants, and they have innovated like mad to make that experience so much better. And guess my wife? My wife, she's on the East Cobb's Mom's book, and guess what kind of advocate she is? Right? That's a virtual cycle. But it's not just grocery, and it's not just Nike and Home Depot. But I see Nike and Home Depot in the room. They're, if you want to talk to people who are doing fulfillment right, I can't say what they're doing, but maybe you get them over a drink, they'll tell you what they're doing. They're some of the most innovative companies I've ever encountered when it comes to fulfillment. And you talk about great brands, but what they're doing fulfillment strategy-wise and making their brand great, those are companies that understand it's the promise that leads to brand. But here's another one: Yoox Net-a-Porter, luxury fashion retailer. So their promise isn't groceries in the parking lot. Their promise isn't buy online, pick up in store. Their promise isn't like Marks & Spencer, which is buy online, pick up in the locker in the tube. Their promise is, because their customer is, I'm a high-powered businessman. I have a big dinner meeting in London. I land at 6 a.m. on the red eye. I need 5 shirts to my room at 3 o'clock to try on. And their ability to understand which white glove treatment partners are available to bring which piece of inventory over to a specific geographic range, that's another sort of promise. And again, that's all about fulfillment. And there's many, many examples we can share about brands that have just changed the entire competitive landscape by changing the fulfillment game. Because again, if you're thinking about your marketing dollars, you're thinking about customer acquisition cost and yield on your programs. I will submit to you that where you're going to do the most bang for your buck is increasing your fulfillment, because you're going to take care of advocacy and you're going to take care of delivery. But I'm going to also ask you a question, because we got to talk about doing it profitably. I'm going to go a little fast here. Let's imagine a company like Kohl's. Let's imagine this scenario. Let's imagine, because you got to buy online, ship from store. That's a big deal these days. Let's imagine you go to Kohls.com in, February, and you want to buy a winter jacket, a scarf, gloves, and a hat. And you need it tomorrow. And all those 4 items are sitting in a distribution center 4 miles from your home. Where's Kohl's going to ship that order from? The obvious answer, it's going to ship the order from the distribution center 4 miles down the road. But here's a little twist. That same winter jacket retails for $350, and about 400 miles to the north, or to the south is probably the right example, it's about to go on markdown for $150. Now already shipped the order from. And by the way, when you do buy online, ship from store, you have about 1.5 seconds to make that promise. It's another little thing Watson can do. Watson optimizes orders. It has fulfillment strategies. And that's one of those things where Watson actually should do without human intervention, because Watson can optimize for either the best customer sat or the most profitable fulfillment possibility. I'm going to start moving through some of these fast because I'm going to be kicked off soon, but I'm hopeful that I'm just giving you a couple things worth thinking about here. Next consideration is, are you marketing in the moment? Do you have the right content or the right offer? Can you give it to the right person at the right time, and especially not the wrong time in that moment? Here's an example I'll give. This is another example of Watson put to use. And by the way, this is not science fiction. You could actually go and download this today if you're interested. So within something called Watson Content Hub, which is a next generation content management system, here's what it does. Watson looks at pictures and videos, and it tags it for you. And for those of you who have worked with content management systems, you know that tagging and maintaining tags is one of the most horrible, mundane, important tasks out there. But that's not where the ROI comes from. The ROI comes from conversion rates. Myers, the largest department store in Australia, another incredible company, another highly innovative company. Here's what they do. They have something called their brown boot sale every year, which is simple, innocuous, right? Just put some pictures out there. But pictures and images, as we all know, drive conversion rates. And the question is, when you're doing this brown boot sale, where are you getting your imagery from? Because it's not just the picture of brown boots, it's brown boots for the 18 to 25-year-olds, brown boots for the 18 to 25-year-old males, brown boots for the 18 to 25-year-old males who are from Indian descent, for the sporting time. So all of a sudden, you're dealing with, at Meyer, about 121 different segments, which means 121 image categories. And now if you have a traditional image library, even if you tagged it right 5 years ago, the tags might not be good today. But what Watson can simply do by looking at pictures and tagging these images for you, it takes away the man-hour spent every year with these mundane, horrible tasks of tagging images and just hoping there's consistency in how they're tagged. Or Watson can just look at your pictures for you and tell you what the pictures represent and align them with the segmentation model that you have. Therefore, when it's time to do the brown boot sale and you need the images for the 18 to 25-year-old Indian demographic, they're right there. And when you change your segmentation model, the image tags change. Again, just one little example of where AI, it's not a technology, but it's sitting there complementing your marketers and your merchandisers every day. Next one here, this is one that I hear a lot, but I'm just going to go right to the story. The context there is, are you removing friction at every step along the way? The starter project I'll bring up with the time left is search. Who here thinks there's anything more important to conversion rates besides fulfillment and besides knowing where the inventory is than search? Search is everything. I mean, some statistics that caught me by attention is 70% of shoppers use some form of on-site search. I don't ever go, if I'm looking for clothing, I always start with the search bar. But here's the thing. A third of shoppers can't find what they're looking for, and 70% of those are going to leave the site. That is a ton of friction, and in our research, that is the place where the most friction exists. And so one of the things we're going to be introducing, we're all under blood oath, NDA here, in the next 2 to 3 months, is Watson-powered search. And here's all that is. When I search for my blue turtleneck sweater, or when I search for Matthew McConaughey in the search bar, does the search know what I'm actually looking for? With Watson behind it, the ability to help merchandisers or do it automatically, making the correlations in the search bar. I mean, that's what a searchandizer does. That ability is going to change everything. And when you add visual search on top of it, all of a sudden there's visual auto search. There's context in the search bar that not just understands how to make the search bar purchasable, and where you can literally within the search bar click to buy, removing a couple of clicks from it. It also understands the color you're looking for. Because of the content tagging, it understands the right imagery for who you are. So all of a sudden, the search bar becomes an offensive weapon for you that's trying to drive the conversions right there without having to force a number of more clicks. Again, another project I would submit to you that you want to get started on soon, and that's up to be Watson. Look at how your search bar is performing and ask, can you get 3 or 4 more conversion percentages out of it, or even more? And some of the initial work we're doing with 3 of our initial customers on Watson-powered search are showing there's going to be a lot more than that. And we'll probably start publishing that in the next 2 to 3 months, what AI-powered search is going to mean. But if you're thinking about conversion rates, search and fulfillment are the 2 areas I'd probably start with. And last thing I'll talk about is, it's just more about the platform. And that's, last question I want you asking yourself is that, have you set yourself up for Me Too commerce? And here's what I mean by that. I'll actually show a video.
Chocolate is very individual. White chocolate lovers don't like dark chocolate. Milk chocolate lovers don't necessarily like dark or white. Before, we couldn't really allow the consumer to customize their preferred chocolate. We needed a scalable cloud solution allowing them to see all 800 products and select what they are looking for. Now, there is endless opportunity to indulge.
So who here has been to a Lindt store? Right, so I'm a Hershey's, I'm actually a Nestle kind of guy. Where are you, Nathan? I almost got you first. And here's the thing. I'm not classy enough to go into Lindt, but after I worked with them, their chocolate's incredible. If you haven't had their stuff, get it. Here's the thing. The entire customer experience at Lindt is built around walking around the big table of Lindt chocolates. You take a bag and you build this bag of truffles. It's their highest margin item, and what they would say, it's a gateway drug to all the other more expensive stuff they have there. And here's the thing. When they wanted to build their website, what they wanted, we weren't a SaaS provider at the time. They wanted someone who had the speed, the simplicity, and the economics they came used for in SaaS. But they actually went with us at the time. And at the time, we had not yet become a SaaS vendor, and we were still a little bit bigger than we needed to be. Here's why. Because even more important than speed, simplicity, and economics are the ability to control and customize the brand experience. And for Lindt, and a lot of you all out there, taking that build-a-bag experience and making that experience mimicked online is not possible with most SaaS solutions. A lot of SaaS solutions today will force you into a template-driven approach to e-commerce, which basically becomes very regimented if you want to stick within your SLAs as to how you're going to deploy e-commerce. And one of the things we've introduced over the past 3 months is our digital commerce, which marries the best of both worlds, which is, it is the economics, the speed, the simplicity of SaaS, up and running in less than 3 months. But at the same time, it gives you best-of-breed 20 years of co-created capability, pricing, promotions, AI, robust cloud, robust security. So you get the speed, the simplicity, and the economics of SaaS up and running less than 3 months without sacrificing control of your brand. We think that's a very big deal, and frankly, something that, as a lot of companies we're working with are thinking about, the foundation of their commerce businesses is going to be very important. And what I'm going to leave you with is just a little video just back to the customers, but before I get kicked off, I just want to, again, extend how excited I am to be here and how excited IBM is to be here, and how awesome I think it is that you all decided to take 2 or 3 days out of your life to sharpen the sword. And I hope the rest of the presentations are educational and you'll have a good time. But I'm just going to leave you with this.
Customer data, you got it, tons of it, and you know your customer. Take Jack, for example. Jack loves waffles. How do you know? Because Sunday Jack said so on social. And last Friday, he'd been searching for a waffle maker in your online store. Boom! Now you're ready to talk to him. Because you know Jack. Except Jack was actually just carving up for a 5K at the end of the week. He's not so much a waffle freak as a fitness freak. But you already assigned him to a target audience, so you're still talking to him about all things waffle. Jack deletes the email without opening it, and then he ignores your SMS and closes your ad. So you don't know Jack. And to give Jack an experience that would have actually been right for him, you should have had a platform that let your data show that he's not obsessed with brunch, he's obsessed with running. And you also would have known that Jack is actually Jacqueline.
Anyways, thank you very much for your time this morning. A couple things you can do. We offer these things called illumination forums, which is some of the concepts we've been talking about. If you have a team of people that wants to explore, what's the right first step to get your foot in the water with artificial intelligence, we come out. We don't just give you a boring, here's AI session. We talk about what are a couple starter projects we can get in on immediately. Other things you could do, you could schedule a one-on-one with us today. I'll be here for the day, and my friend Brent will be here for today and tomorrow. As well as Noel Singh will be sitting outside. More than welcome to show you some of the stuff in action. But again, hope you enjoy the next 2 days, learn a lot, and again, thanks for your time.